Welcome to another exciting episode of Open Infra Live. I'm Jeremy Stanley, the OpenStack Community Manager with the Open Infra Foundation, and I'm here today with a number of community leaders from OpenStack to talk about our latest release just out yesterday, 2025.1 codename Epoxy. Um, as always, Open Infra Live and all of our projects would not be possible without the generous support of our member organizations, which you can see here on this very complicated slide. Also, lest I forget, there is a project teams gathering being held next week, April 7th through 11th online. The registration URL is there. We encourage everyone who is participating in or interested in participating in our projects to attend. So without further ado, OpenStack 2025.1 Epoxy. Before we get too deep into this, I'd like to cover something that is near and dear to my heart. One of the many hats that I wear on a daily basis within the community is that of OpenDev Collaboratory Systems Administrator. And for those of you not familiar with it, the OpenDev Collaboratory is a community-run code forge built entirely on open source services, operated transparently in the open by volunteers from the projects that use it. It runs completely on resources generously donated by OpenStack cloud providers like Rackspace, VexHost, OVH, OpenMetal, and Oregon State University's open source lab. OpenDev is where hundreds of OpenStack contributors from around the world worked tirelessly for the past 6 months to build the latest release, and where Zool, our project gating system, tested OpenStack thousands of times a day in order to help ensure a regression-free experience for users everywhere. The slide here, we've got some fun statistics, but basically the big takeaway is that we ran 1.1 million jobs for OpenStack 2025.1 Epoxy over the last 6 months within the OpenDev Collaboratory. And I guess let's go ahead and introduce our first speaker, the Technical Committee Chair for OpenStack, Gautam.
Hey, thank you, Jeremy. Hello, everyone. So let's kick this off with the release, with an overlook into how the release went. And at the beginning of this release, a few stackers, I'm looking at you, Kendall Nelson, said Epoxy was the glue that binds the clouds. Well, it sure felt like that in the community. There was a great momentum through this release, and a lot of hard work has gone into delivering it on time for you. And this was the 31st time. It's truly remarkable that the community can do this, thrive, and do this with enthusiasm for 15 years now. So there are very few parallels of this sort in the global software world, and to that, I'm very thankful. Thanks to the maintainers of nearly about 700 odd Git repositories under the OpenStack namespace, to the code, the documentation, the translation contributors, to the users who motivated features, who responded to user surveys, participated in the community by mailing us their concerns, created bug reports, blueprints, design requirements, and so on. Thanks to project leaders, to infrastructure volunteers and sponsors who maintain the OpenDev Collaboratory that Jeremy told you about, where our projects are made, and to the Open Infra Foundation Board, to the staff, and that keep us functioning effectively. Thanks to all the companies that invest in OpenStack and in open source in general. And finally, to numerous new contributors, seasoned software engineers to absolute beginners. Thank you for your investment into this community. Now on with the business that occurred during this release. The OpenStack TC's charter is to oversee the governance of all the individual project teams and all the individual projects themselves, and to lay the norms of the community as a whole. And we do that in the confines of the overarching principles that this community was formed with. The 4 opens, basically. The principles of open source, open design, open community, and open development. And in this regard, during this past release, we made some governance changes that were significant. So we migrated all the CI testing across the board from using Python 3.10 to Python 3.12. This was a TC cross-project community goal. And it also now uses the latest, long-term support of the operating systems that we test against. In this release, we are releasing the Freezer project. The project team reformed, and the distributed backup and restore service is back again in the OpenStack umbrella. A pop-up team was formed around the TC cost project goal to coordinate the removal of eventlet. So it's technical debt for us at this point. And we also updated the election duration to be 2+ weeks instead of the regular 2 weeks. And we've begun encouraging early nominations for the elections. I'll talk about that a little bit in my next slide. And we also used the investment opportunities avenue to create one for the OpenStack QA team. So there is a chance for you to sponsor the OpenStack QA team by investing developer resources into it. And there's also the runtimes that we published for the Flamingo release. We will be testing with Python version starting 3.10 through 3.13, where 3.13 will be a non-voting job across all of the OpenStack repositories. And the TC worked with the OpenStack release team to sunset old code branches that we hope nobody is using and relying upon, pertaining to releases from Victoria all the way through the Yoga release for a bulk of the OpenStack projects. And we also did a lot of cleanup while we were at it, retired a whole bunch of repositories that we were no longer writing code into. So you can see the list on this slide. And in terms of open community, one of the biggest roles that the TC plays is to ensure this form of open governance. And so we made some changes to the election tooling. We now consider the 15 odd repositories that the TC governs also to be part of the repos that you can contribute to earn your contributor status, and hence be part of the electorate when it comes to elections in the community. And for the first time, we started running elections for 3 weeks formally. And we also started encouraging early nominations. This is because we can, for a global community like ours, there is barely a chance we can coordinate everything, without some folks being on vacations and having holidays and so on. With respect to the TC changes, we have one new face, Michael Nesteka. He replaces Slavik, who has been with the TC since the Z release. So thank you, Slavik, for your effort over these many releases, and thanks, Michael, for stepping up. And in project leads, this is exciting for me that we have. We had about 34 projects that self-nominated PTLs, and there were a lot of first-time PTLs this time around. This is a hallmark of our community to grow, to build maintainers, and it's really exciting to see this new rung of leaders step up. And we also saw in this release, in the upcoming Flamingo release, for that a number of projects have adopted a distributed project leadership, which means that they will have liaisons that will take over the role that a PTL would normally do, and help drive the project team together. We had to make some PTL appointments because of late nominations and so on to a few projects. And next slide, please. All right, so what's next? So in the Flamingo cycle, we are looking to make some progress on cross-project community goals. A lot of these are nearing their completion, and they have been multi-cycle efforts for us. So it would be for us, the focus area would be to try to finish those up and close them out. And this includes SR back to to replace Eventlet. I'm not promising that we would get that done within the Flamingo release. We do have a timeline for that, but we hope to make some great progress during this Flamingo release. And we had old goals around root wrap migration and FIPS compliance. So we will check the pulse on these and try to make some progress through this release. We would also have our investment area sorted out with in terms of security and vulnerability management. There are some TC changes as well as the VMT changes that you can look forward to in this release. We're looking to have an increased contributor engagement through all the different efforts that you will see. And we also are looking to support our project teams and their goals in making sure that they have that we cater to all these new and evolving use cases. And we also, as usual, would like to tackle technical debt and keep the community fresh. And what's next is also the Flamingo PTG that's happening next week. So the TC is meeting at the beginning of the week and at the end of the week. So you'll see those timings on the slide. We're meeting on the 7th of April at 1300 UTC, and again on the 11th of April at 1500 UTC. So I'm hoping to see folks join us and discuss all the things governance for this community. You can see there's a link to the Etherpad. Please feel free to follow it and add your topic if you'd like to bring anything to these discussions. If you're unable to make it to the PTG, we also have weekly meetings, and these weekly meetings happen on IRC, on the OFTC network, in the OpenStack TC channel. These are going to happen at 1700 UTC or every Tuesday. And outside of these avenues, you can always reach out to us on the OpenStack Discuss email list. So that's all I had today. Back to you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Gautam. So before we move on to our next guest, I wanted to bring up a bit of housekeeping. This is a good time to mention that if you have any questions at all about the release or for our speakers, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can during this session. And next, I'll introduce Carlos. He's the PTL for OpenStack Manila.
Thank you, Jeremy. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So I'm the OpenStack Manila PTL. You can reach me out. You can ping me in RC using that nick there. And today I would like to walk you through all of the nice highlights that we have for the Epoxy release in Manila, as well as our future plans for the upcoming release and what we intend to talk about during the PTG. So first, let's start with some nice features and enhancements that happened during the Epoxy release. First one of them, I will be brief on this because I'm sure that Nova folks will talk more about this. But we got the VirtualFS support merged in Nova, and then it is possible to add the Manila shares to the Nova VMs through kind of like a process that's similar to attaching volumes. So it's pretty cool. We had a lot of operators asking us for that. And it's awesome to see this coming to completion. So big thank you to the Nova team as well for pursuing this and getting this done. It was awesome. So thanks, everyone. Next up, users being able to modify levels of access rules. This is kind of like one thing that we've heard from operators as well, and it's a feature that it was worked on in Manila for this cycle, which is pretty much allowing operators to change the level of an access rule, just in case you have a maintenance or something going on and you would like to switch an access rule from read only to read write. You couldn't do that. You would need to deny and allow the access rules, but now you can. So that's one of the nice features that we got implemented in Manila for this cycle, as well as being able to modify share server characteristics via share network subnet metadata. So whenever you created a share, you can have very little influence on the share server that is being created by Manila. So this is one of the ways for us to be able to influence the configuration of the share servers by updating some characteristics when a couple of metadata items are defined. So we are watching currently a list of keys for metadatas that whenever we see an update in the share network subnet metadata, then we'll forward that to the backend, and then the share backend will apply the changes to the share server. Another nice feature, I've improved the durability of exports in the generic driver, and it's good for like sustaining crashes and restarting and other planning migration of underlying share servers. We know that there are lots of people using the generic driver, so it's a nice enhancement to have in. We had also some updates to the deferred deletion mechanisms. So basically now when deferred deletion is enabled, Manila will attempt the regular deletion and release the quotas. And if an error happened during the deletion process, then the status of the resource will be changed, and then there's a periodic test that will pick it up and try to deal with it. Another awesome thing, the Manila team is kind of one of the well-known teams for managing a lot of interns and students from universities. During this cycle, we had 3 different sets of interns with us. We had a couple of interns from North Dakota State University working on Manila UI enhancements. We have a big gap to close in terms of features from the Manila API and the Manila UI. They've been working on that and helping us to close that gap. We also had some students from the Seattle University that are helping us to complete all of the validation schema and all of the we are kind of like doing validation schemas and open API in Manila, so they're helping us with that. And the other internship that we have is with Valencia College. So Valencia College, the students are working with us also on the open API and validation schema, but also helping us to close all other sorts of tech that we have, like documentation and stuff like that. So that's a pretty nice thing, and I would definitely encourage other projects if you are not looking at into mentoring some students. There's plenty of opportunities with some professors. So I'm glad to make the connections if you need. So on to the next slide, please. We also have a couple of other highlights and a couple of other nice things now, more related to drivers and backends. So for this cycle, the configuration options for the standalone SFFS and FS Ganesha helper are deprecated, and they will be removed in the future. We are thinking of the next not Flamingo, the G release, 2026.1, as a time frame to have the removal of the driver. We sent an email from that during this release, and then we got some feedback mentioning that people might not be ready for that. So we are kind of advising people to move away from standalone CFFS and FS Ganesha to a Ceph NFS service or a Ceph ADM deployed Ceph NFS service. And there is a migration path for that. You can have the both of them up while you are doing the migration, and we can help you with that if you are making the migration. So please reach us out if you have any questions. Also, another very nice bug fix was proposed for dealing with scheduling issues when you had multiple CFFS backends configured with different file systems. We had an issue with scheduling and provisioning and evenly balancing the shares, but that's fixed now. Also, certificate-based authentication for NetApp, and there is also some documentation for that if you'd like to have that bit of security checked. Please take a look at the release notes and also the documentation. And another nice fix from the NetApp on NetApp OnTap driver on failovers, pretty much fixing an issue where you were not, or there was a possibility that depending on the amount of share servers or network allocations that were already at the storage level, the failover would not be completed. So we fixed that by improving the provisioning of shares, and several other bug fixes were proposed. So Yeah, pretty busy release, and I'm really thankful for all of the effort from all kinds of contributors and everyone that helped us to get to this point where we have a lot of nice features and enhancements. So thanks for that. And now our plans for the 2025.2, our Flamingo release. So we've been talking about share encryption for some time, and we would I think we are in a good shape to move this and get this done in the upcoming release. So that's one of our main focuses for this cycle. We also have out of place backup restores. We have a couple of specs being proposed in Manila right now. So these out of place backup restores, they are also part of one of the specs that we have currently been reviewing, and it's a nice feature. Continuing to close the feature gap in Manila UI and also the effort on Open API. And we have another spec being proposed for share group affinity policies. All of that will be discussed at the PTG. It's a very good opportunity for us, for you to get in touch with us and to share your thoughts and let us know, or just join and share your feedback on our proposals or just listen. It's very important to have people participating. So yeah, we are meeting for a couple of hours. I would recommend checking the PTG schedule. We're meeting on Monday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much. And back to you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Carlos. So next up, we gonna hand it off to Sylvain to provide us with a retrospective on the Nova project.
Thanks, Jeremy. So, hello. That's the last term for me as the Nova PTL because next cycle, as Flamingo, it will be René as a new Nova PTL. If you don't know him, you will see him in three slides. So let me start at least for explaining what we did for Epoxy. So at least for this release, it was working pretty well. As you can see, we merged like 17, no, sorry, we accepted 17 blueprints, but actually we are able to implement then 12 of them. So basically, everything that was accepted was basically implemented because the other ones were not implemented because the people were not having the time for implementing them. For the bugs, as you can see, I only found 26 bug fixes that were matched, but that doesn't mean that it's only that, because I'm just looking at the number, but maybe we have more bug fixes. And basically, you will see I'm definitely happy with our team. Kudos for our team for the artwork. As a reminder, Epoxy is a slurp release. If you don't exactly know what's a slurp release, that means that you can actually upgrade from Caracal to Epoxy. You don't need to you don't need to upgrade from Caracal and then to D and then to Epoxy. You can directly upgrade from Caracal to Epoxy. And also, as a reminder, for example, when you upgrade, you don't need to also upgrade all your computes. You can leave the computes to be using either Caracal or Dalmatian, and then upgrade them after the main upgrade, and it will be working. Voilà. Next slide, please. So what we did for Epoxy, we did multiple features. I would say for one of them, maybe you don't exactly know about that, but if you use NVIDIA driver for grid by Ubuntu 24.4, then basically it's changing a bit. So now, instead of using MDevs, you need to use PCI pass-through for NVIDIA Grid. So what we did during this release was to be able to support PCI pass-through for the new drivers. That's what named VFO PCI variant driver. That means that for Dalmatian and before, if you are using mediated devices, if you are wanting to use virtual GPUs in Nova, you can still upgrade to Epoxy, but maybe you will need to modify the flavors. If you really want to do that, please look at your documentation. You will see exactly what you need to do. But at least you can still use your GPUs by Epoxy. Another feature was related to Manila. Basically, Carlos already discussed that before. You can now attach Manila shares using a specific Nova API. We also have a new wire for the scheduler that's named image property wires that helps you to either spread or pack instances if they use the same image properties. Again, you can look at the documentation. Also, we modify Nova schedulers just to make sure that, for example, if you have multiple active scheduler services, they all work correctly because of what they do. Next slide, please. Okay, another feature was related to image properties of scheduler inst. Now you can see them in instance show. Another feature was related to a new VIF model that's named IGB. Another important Epoxy feature was for unified limits. If you don't exactly know what unified limits, that's related to the existing quotas. If you want to have quotas for Nova, now you can provide limits directly with Keystone. And now, as you can see, this is not longer experimental. So basically, instead of just testing them, you can directly use them. You will have a new you will have a new Nova manage tool for migrating the existing quota limits that you were doing in Nova, and then they will be created in Keystone. And voila, so that also means for you that if you want to create new quotas, like for example for virtual GPUs, this is now possible thanks to unified limits. Eventually, another feature was related to a new console type that was related to Spice. The problem that we had with Spice is that this was not really possible to directly call the Spice protocol because of the proxy that we are having. So basically, by this feature, it is not possible to directly use a curbside URL. If you don't know what curbside, look at your documentation. That will mean that basically, if you use curbside and you use the new Spice Direct console type, then basically you will be able to directly call the Spice VDI console. Voilà, that's basically it for me. So it was like for Epoxy. Now, René will explain you as the new Flamingo PTL what we'll do during the next virtual PTG. Thanks, guys. It was definitely loving to work with you.
Thanks, Sylvain. Hello, everyone. So we have a pretty packed agenda for next week and for the PTG. So for the Nova team, it will be every day. So from Monday to Friday. But I encourage you to look at the document and the link specified on this slide to have the agenda and all the time slots. The agenda is not fully finalized, but few changes will come. So I have selected several topics we will discuss next week. So we will start Monday by the Epoxy as usual by a retrospective about the previous cycle. We will discuss the Flamingo deadlines. At the moment, we will have 3 cross-team sessions. So the first one will be with Barbican and Castellan. This is mainly to discuss VTPM topic, and this is an important topic mainly for supporting Windows 11 guests. So really important for our customers. We have a second one with Glance, Cinder, and Nova. I think the discussion will be mostly around the location API. The next one will be with Neutron, Cinder, and Nova, and the discussion will be around quality of services. So if you are interested by these topics, please attend to these cross-team sessions. One important topic we will discuss too is eventlet removal. So we are maybe a bit late on this topic, because we need to. This is an important priority for the Flamingo cycle to work on that. Next, we will have a discussion around Watcher. And the idea of Watcher is to enable new use cases around I would say the ultimate use cases will be to influence the placements of VMs based on the usage of the underlying hosts. So again, if you are interested with this topic, please join that session. We have an interesting topic, which is the introduction of Cloud Hypervisor. And so this topic is interesting because it shows that we are integrating new technologies in Nova. So that's cool. And the latest one I have selected is the one-time use devices. So basically, this will be used for use cases, example with NVMe devices. So the idea is to be able to use the NVMe devices and place it into a kind of pool, and then it will allow external application to maybe clean the NVMe data, and so to reuse these devices securely without previous informations and things like that. Of course, we will have more topics. I encourage you to look at the links again. If you see something wrong, please reach out to me, and I'll try to fix everything. And I hope you will enjoy the next week's PTG. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thanks to both of you for the Nova update, and particularly many thanks to Sylvain for his years of hard work leading the Nova team. Rene has some big shoes to fill. And next up is Ricardo to talk about OpenStack Ironic. Take it away, Ricardo.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thank you. Well, I'm the former OpenStack Ironic PTL. This was my second cycle. Epoxy was my second cycle, and last as PTL for now, at least. It's been like a great experience. I'd like to thank you, everyone in the community, for the support and the help with that. As traditional, let's start with some numbers. So we had like roughly 100 fewer commits and 10,000 fewer lines of code than Dalmatian. We kept the same numbers of contributors and companies, but interesting enough, 15% of reviews come from independent contributors, and so not related to a specific company. And we had like fewer bugs, definitely fewer bugs than Dalmatian. So like 35 fixed, couple of more still open, but like small bugs. And well, I'm very happy about that. Next one, please. All right, let's see some new features developed during the Epoxy cycle. So the first one is probably the biggest thing that we've done during this cycle. So we added a feature that allows to adapt a container to run on bare metal using with bootable containers using bootc. bootc is kind of a recent technology. I think the first release of the tool is from 2023, so just 2 years old. This is like an additional deployment method, and the process includes a mechanism to download a container, load it directly into the memory of the host that is being deployed using the Ironic agent, and then we have bootc support. Install the content directly to the disk, taking advantage of the bootc tool present in the container itself. And of course, we added also the support for OCI for container registries, in particular for the OCI Open Container Initiative registries, which is strictly related to the feature to the bootc support, to the bootc deploy interface. So in short, we needed a source for the containers to be retrieved, and commonly would be a registry. And the OCI format is very, very popular and works quite well. So we added the support for that, which includes also authentication, very important. Moving forward, the Redfish-based graphical console interface. So this was a long due feature with many requests from like a lot of users and operators. So the support for the graphical interface based on Redfish that allows users to access graphical consoles for bare metal hosts using a service that connects to the VNC service provided by the BMC directly, so using the Redfish API. We've also added support for NCSI hardware, network controller sideband interface. More in general, this is like the support is for hardware that cannot be directly powered off for various reasons. For example, in most cases, powering off this type of machines will remove the access to its BMC, the baseboard management controller, meaning that it will completely cut off the connection between the Ironic services and the BMC, which is definitely not a good thing for how Ironic works in general. So the feature adds the possibility to disable the power off and work around that limitation. And another interesting feature is the addition of the support for 4K block devices, so storage devices. These are disks that have 4K sector size instead of the traditional 512 byte used in legacy disks. It's also it's not quite a recent technology, but we saw more and more requests also for this, and probably because of larger sector allows for higher storage capacity and definitely improved performance. Next one, please. Thanks. So some more things that came out of Epoxy. We have finished the migration of the inspector service into Ironic with the migration of the inspection hooks, which are responsible for processing the data that comes from inbound inspection of an host. And they allow a deep customization of the inspection process phase. So this concludes the migration of inspector to Ironic as a separate service at all. So we consider now inspector deprecated and not supported anymore. We've added a API schema validation framework that processes incoming requests and outgoing responses against the JSON schema. We've also removed the support for PostgreSQL. So from now on, only MySQL compatible databases are supported. And we've said goodbye to also Ironic lib. We've migrated all its functionalities to the different projects that use them. It was not necessary anymore to have a centralized place for that. And as I was saying before, I'm not only I'm actually de facto the last Ironic PTL because Ironic is one of the projects that migrated to the distributed project leadership model. So moving forward, we will have a different way to manage everything that comes in a cycle. So what are the plans for Flamingo? These are some topics that will come next in the next development cycle. The first one, so Ironic is also famous to work as a standalone project, as a standalone service. And we have a lot of networking and a lot of ideas related to networking to improve the standalone Ironic experience. We will talk a lot more about this during the PTG next week. The tiny core alternative, which is a leftover from Epoxy, we actually worked on that during Epoxy, but we were not able to finish it. The idea is to migrate from tiny core to Gen 2 based Ironic Python agent RAM disk. We hope to finish that during the Flamingo cycle. And we're also looking forward to start supporting CentOS Stream 10 with all the challenges that will bring. For example, most likely deciding on the deprecation of legacy BIOS support. And last but not least, I think very important to mention that we're participating to a round of the Outreach initiative with also another OpenStack project, Manila. We're currently reviewing the contributions of quite some applicants, and the internship period will start in June. So let's not forget about the PTG, of course, next week. For us, the sessions are scheduled from Monday to Thursday, so we won't have any session on Friday. I think the agenda has still space for some more topics, even if we are kind of packed because there are a lot of things we want to talk about. It's going to be in the Mitaka room for all 4 days. So if you're curious about the Ironic plans or about Ironic in general, or if you just want to say hello to us, we'll be very happy to welcome you at the virtual PTG. So please come. And that's all from us, folks. Thank you.
And thank you, Ricardo. So during those lovely presentations, we had one question from the audience. It was about using Sunbeam. So Eric Atto asks, can we currently use Sunbeam project to deploy Epoxy? So not currently, I don't think. Sunbeam and other deployment projects in OpenStack, like OpenStack Ansible or Kala, follow what we call a cycle trailing release model. And so it's usually on the order of a couple of weeks to a month after the release of all of the software that the deployment projects catch up with the ability to deploy those new versions of the software. Hopefully that covers that. And it doesn't seem like we had any other questions. So with that, I will thank our guests and the many generous Open Infrastructure Foundation member organizations supporting us, as well as all the contributors who made OpenStack 2025.1 Epoxy the best release yet. Don't forget to tell your friends and coworkers what you learned today, and have fun with Open Infra.